Welcome to Understanding by Design, Template Stage 3. If you recall, in UBD Stage 1, we identified desired results. Then, in UBD Stage 2, we determined acceptable evidence. And finally, in UBD Stage 3, we will plan learning experiences. In completing UBD Stage 3A, we will use the framework of where to plan learning experiences that align with Stage 1, desired results, and Stage 2, acceptable evidence. We will design teaching and learning experiences that will equip students to engage with, develop, and demonstrate desired understandings. We will start with W. For W, we will let students know where we are going in the unit, what the expectations are, and help teachers know where the student is coming from in terms of prior knowledge. We will develop SMART learning objectives that are specific, measurable, and attainable, results-focused, and time-focused. We want to write this in terms of the student. So, for example, I might put, the student will use Desmos graphing calculator to graph linear equations by using a table. Next, we will determine relevance. How will the student benefit by meeting those stated learning objectives? For example, I might say something like, students will be able to find rates of change in real-world math situations, such as comparing miles per gallon of two different vehicles to pick the one with the smaller carbon footprint. After this, we will consider diagnosis. How, as a teacher, I will determine what my students know prior to as well as after a lesson, and how to determine misconceptions. To determine what my students know prior to a unit, I might say, students will complete a pre-test as an online assessment which will provide immediate data to teacher on the percent towards mastery of the standards prior to the beginning of the module. To determine misconceptions, I may say something like, students will be given a formative assessment probe after the last lesson in the module prior to the module summative assessment to determine misconceptions and provide information to the teacher of suggested targeted strategic support they can provide to students based on results of the probe. Next, in our where to structure, we look at H. So H is how we will hook and hold the student's attention. For instance, at the beginning of the module, the teacher will provide students with an opportunity to spark their mathematical curiosity in a safe space with the Ignite mathematical modeling activity. The purpose is to encourage students to develop a growth mindset around math and begin the inquiry process around the math that they will be learning in the module. Additionally, for H, we will be determining how technology is going to be used in the unit to hook students. For instance, for the Ignite activity I use to hook my students, I may display it on an interactive whiteboard where I can write student-generated ideas, and students can also respond on a Google Doc and share with a partner and the teacher. Next, in our Where To framework, we have E for equip students. Help them experience the key ideas and explore issues. Basically, we want to determine how students will uncover the meaning of the unit. So, for example, in my Algebra 1 unit on linear equations, I may say, students will use the digital Explore activity in Lesson 4.1 to explore points on a line to complete the tables of values and determine the points that lie on the graph of the line. Students will then graph linear functions by making tables of values and by using x and y intercepts. Next, in our Where To framework, we have R, where we give students a chance to rethink, revise, and redefine their understandings and work in the unit. For instance, students will get immediate feedback on their digital formative assessment checks for each lesson example. Based on that feedback, they will be able to use the Geometry Sketchpad activity in the Explore section of the lesson presentation to build conceptual understanding of the concept before beginning their lesson practice. Also, for R, we consider reflect and self-regulate. We want to give students a chance to improve metacognition and self-regulation skills. For example, at the beginning and end of the module, students are asked to indicate their level of confidence on the SMART learning objectives in their text. Next, in our Where To framework, we come to the second E, which is evaluate, allowing students to get formative feedback to improve their work. For example, students will receive immediate digital feedback on Diagnosis 3 lesson example checks and be able to use that feedback to know which examples to review prior to starting their homework. Next, on our Where To framework, we come to T, which stands for tailoring. While we do not want to differentiate the overall unit goals, the big ideas, the enduring understandings, teachers are encouraged to differentiate for different student learning needs in Understanding by Design Stage 3, and tailoring is the place to do that. For more information on differentiation, you can refer to the work by Carol Tomlinson. But here's an example that you could use for tailoring. For instance, based on the results of the digital lesson checks from Diagnosis 3, the teachers will assign the digital reinforced homework for students scoring 65% or less, practice for students scoring 66% to 89%, and reason and apply for students scoring 90% or higher. Based on the results of the digital pretest, during the last 10 minutes of each class every day and every lesson, the teacher will pull students who had scored below 50% on that digital pretest that we took at the beginning of the module, or if they were identified as Tier 2, needing a targeted strategic intervention, or perhaps if they were special education, in a small group to provide targeted strategic intervention with the Take Another Look mini lessons that are available within the curriculum. These will also be assigned digitally to those students who will complete the short assessment at the end of each, which provides immediate feedback to teachers and to those students. And then finally, in our Where To framework, we come to O, for Organized with Technology Towards Learning Strategies. As an example of learning-centered strategy, each lesson is available to teachers and students as a cloud-based digital interactive presentation with embedded videos, virtual manipulatives, as well as Geometry Sketchpad activities. An example of organized to be authentic might be in each lesson, students work with a partner during the apply real-world example to use the suggested strategy and embedded digital tools such as video, Geometry Sketchpad, and eToolkit to devise a solution. The teacher will act as facilitator to ensure students are engaging in productive struggle and intervene as necessary when they spot signs of non-productive struggle. As an example of organized, to have a technology-enhanced learning experience that encourages creativity, higher order thinking, skills and processes, as well as mental habits of mind, I might say something like, students will be asked to complete the metacognitive What Will You Learn activity that comes at the beginning of the module to indicate their level of confidence. Next, as an example of organized to use technology to assess students' learning, in each lesson, students will utilize Geometry Sketchpad in the Explore activity to build conceptual understanding. They will view the digital presentation with embedded videos and interactive tools and complete digital formative assessment checks, as well as the digital formative assessment practice homework. And then finally, as an example of organized to use technology to analyze data, you could say something like, the teacher will set up digital assessments at the module level, formative pretest, and summative digital assessments, so the student will receive feedback. The information in this video was obtained from the Understanding by Design Guide to Advanced Concepts in Creating and Reviewing Units by Grant Wiggins and Jay McTighe. This is Dawn. Thank you so much for joining me to learn about Understanding by Design Stage 3.